I missed the ultimate conclusion to a breaking story from some months ago that was just plastered all over the news, especially on right-wing media. It was a big MAGA talking point. And I think too many folks post their 1 minute, 3 second monetized breaking news video. And then we don't ever actually hear what happens. We don't actually ever hear the conclusion of the story. And so often that information that comes out at the very beginning is highly speculative and often really inaccurate, especially if it's coming from Fox News, from right-wing media. So back in early October, during Donald Trump's midway blitz in the Chicago metro area, there was this really big headline story claiming that a Latino woman had aggressively and erratically pursued a Customs and Border Patrol agent and then hit him with her car. He then shot her several times. And I believe she had to drive herself to the emergency room. She didn't die, she was treated, but then she was arrested and charged. Right? So the initial version of events that we got was this crazy woman who must be some kind of like leftist Antifa protester or some like violent immigrant because her last name is Martinez, and that she'd hit a Customs and Border Patrol agent and he had to shoot her in self-defense. This was used as a talking point by the regime to justify trying to put the National Guard in all of our cities, to advance their military takeover all in Chicago, in Portland, all over the place. It was like, see, here's proof. Here's proof that our Customs and Border Patrol and ICE agents are not safe from all of these violent protesters that are trying to run them down. And I never heard a conclusion to this story. I know we're just inundated with an absolute barrage of developing stories. And when you hear how this story concluded, you might understand why it is that this headline was not so broadly broadcast as the initial breaking news version of what happened. It wasn't until a couple of days ago when I was reading up for an entirely different piece about the way that Homeland Security, particularly Tricia McLaughlin, loves to fabricate information, make entirely false claims that later fall apart in court, like what she releases in a press release claiming that immigrants or American citizens protesters did. That doesn't hold up once it goes to court. Yeah, as I was going down that rabbit hole, I stumbled across a news story from November 21st telling us what happened to Ms. Martinez in this case where she was shot at 5 times by Customs and Border Patrol. The piece was published by WTTW News. I believe that's the PBS station for the Chicago metro area. It says, feds dismiss charges against woman shot by Border Patrol agent in Brighton Park. It's by Matt Masterson, and I was like, what? The charges were dismissed. How did I not hear about this? So I did a little Googling. CNN also covered it, text messages, and a moved SUV, how the government's case against a Chicago woman shot by a Border Patrol agent fell apart. Let me read a little bit here, and then I want to share what I think some of the takeaway is. Even with a federal indictment hanging over her head, claiming she had been a threat to law enforcement, Miramar Martinez was confident she could eventually prove her innocence. I know the truth, Martinez told CNN in an exclusive interview. I know what really happened that day. After an extraordinary reversal by federal prosecutors in one of the most high-profile cases connected to Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago, a judge dismissed the charges against Martinez, a United States citizen who had been accused of ramming a vehicle of a Customs and Border Patrol agent in Chicago before he shot her several times, I believe 5 times. The ruling from U.S. District Judge Georgia Alexakis came after she repeatedly raised concerns about the handling of the investigation, including the revelation the vehicle of the Border Patrol agent who shot Martinez was moved 1,000 miles away after the incident, and text messages showing the agent apparently bragging about the shooting to other people. Charles Exum, the Customs and Border Patrol agent, claimed that he shot her in self-defense. Martinez pleaded not guilty, and inside the courtroom, the judge noted the government's case included omissions that caused her to tread carefully, as Martinez's defense attorney alleged it was actually the agent who had sideswiped her. Outside the courtroom, the high-profile case was garnering public scrutiny. The defense attorney in the case, himself a former federal prosecutor, believes a rush by the Trump administration to have a meme-ready example of dangerous protest activity forced the U.S. Attorney's Office to push a weak case too far. She never would have been charged under the old system because they would have found out right away that this entire case is garbage, her attorney told CNN. The judge's decision came hours after federal prosecutors filed a motion to dismiss the charges against her and her co-defendant, Anthony Ruiz. CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson said ultimately there was a determination when everything was evaluated that there were serious questions about the officer's narratives. There's evidence that he sideswiped her car. This has been happening repeatedly. There have been multiple cases, including one I talked about in a video yesterday in New York City, also another woman, an American citizen in Chicago, where ICE or Customs and Border Patrol clearly hit somebody else. And then Tricia McLaughlin, the mouthpiece of ICE, or the agents themselves falsely claimed that they were the ones who were rammed. But the evidence later shows they clearly initiated the contact. But then there were the apparent text messages from Customs and Border Patrol agent Charles Exum, where he bragged to other agents about his marksmanship after he repeatedly shot Martinez. The agent bragged, read it, 5 shots, 7 holes, speaking of Ms. Martinez. He went on to say, I take pride in my shooting skills. In another message, he said, I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys. He also said, I did what I had to do. What, after you hit her with your car? You hit an innocent woman with your car? It's not clear to me, like, is he trying to cover up by claiming she hit him? Did he fire on her for no reason other than the pride in his marksmanship? Like, what is going on here? It's also important to note that after the accident, the vehicle, right? He claims she hit his vehicle. His vehicle was moved 1,000 miles away, destroying evidence, making it impossible for them to recover clear information about how the collision took place. Defense attorneys in the case argued that the government did not properly handle or maintain evidence. They effectively destroyed it. Now, a while back, I talked about this piece that came out in the New Republic about how over and over again, we are seeing the narrative from the regime be disproved in court. We are seeing people who are being arrested and attempted to be brought up on charges over and over again. But what the claims are from the regime do not match the evidence. Right, more than 170 American citizens have been wrongly detained by ICE. And we can clearly see that again here with Tricia McLaughlin and the Department of Homeland Security. In their press release, they initially claimed that Martinez and her co-defendant were domestic terrorists who had ambushed Border Patrol agents on Chicago streets. They accused her of having a semi-automatic weapon. They accused her of being a terrorist. Even after the charges were dropped, Tricia McLaughlin from the Department of Homeland Security continues to claim that Martinez was ramming Customs and Border Patrol agents with her car. This is a woman who did nothing wrong. Border Patrol slammed into her, shot her 5 times. She survived. They charged her with assault. They then destroyed evidence, moving the vehicle from the scene over 1,000 miles away. The agent bragged about how many times he shot her. The judge said that he was concerned about the truthfulness of the agent and the government's claims. The case was dismissed. Where is justice for Ms. Martinez? What is happening in the United States of America? We understand a lot of this has to do with it being a kakistocracy, right? They think that they can lie, they can fabricate, they can hide evidence, they can bring up whatever charges they want, and they think that the courts are going to go along with it. But over and over and over again, we are seeing the courts continue to hold the line for the rule of law. I do think it's important to remember whatever corruption is happening at the level of the executive, that is happening from ICE, that is happening from DHS, you have to remember there are judges who are doing the right thing, and that also we get a trial by a jury of our peers. Jury nullification is a thing. Failure of grand juries to indict on cases like this is a thing. That is still a way that we, the people, get justice. In this instance, prosecutors withdrew the charges and the judge dismissed the case because there was no case. But still, where is the justice for Ms. Martinez? Is this the kind of America that we want to live in, where American citizens can be rammed by federal agents, shot by them, falsely accused of crimes, and then what? agents just move along with their day. The government faces no ramifications. There's no justice for us, the American people. Is this the kind of greatness that you envisioned, Trump voters? All of y'all don't tread on me. Is this what you think the federal government should be able to do to us?